Hey dudes, what's up? My name is Levente, and today I want to talk a little bit about my own autistic story and journey and success story, and how I ended up here in Switzerland because I'm from Budapest, Hungary, where I was born and lived in until my mid-20s. And basically, I studied there chemical engineering and material science, which I really hated back then. Back then, when I did my studies in Hungary, I didn't even know I was autistic. By my masters, I knew that, and that also gave me like superpowers, basically, to have found out what is really going on and why am I so different to others, and why do I have insane advantages in a few areas and insane difficulties in others. So basically, as much as I suffered through my whole bachelor's, my master was like insanely strong hard work, insanely good results, and insanely, yeah, it was like a grind for 2 years. But basically by the time I knew that I want to leave my messy family and my messy country, I want to go abroad to rebuild myself, and lean more into my autistic side, because I just felt that within my family's constraints and within my country, Hungary, I was just not really able to function and build on my autistic side and personality. So I ended up getting a PhD position in Switzerland, which was a dream of mine for a long time. So basically, once I got it, I had already studied for almost 10 years in Hungary, with some breaks and some work, whatever. But basically, once I got it in 2018, it was like life-changing moment when you actually it was like when you actually reach your goal, which you have dreamt of for the last 5, 10 years, and you get it, and that's it. And it was instantly good in this sense, but it was also at the same time insanely depressing that once you reach your goal and you have only planned until that goal, basically, then what's up? Then what's next? What's how to go on? And that was very difficult to figure out, and it was an insanely difficult period of my life, my PhD time. It was very successful also because professionally I was doing fine, well in my PhD, although it got boring very quickly. But it was more like completely rediscovering and rebuilding my personality, which was highly undeveloped and traumatized due to my upbringing and studies and whatever in Hungary. So it was basically rebuilding yourself, getting rid of very serious PTSD from for sure, and a lot of traumatic experiences and other stuff, and yeah, rediscovering yourself. So basically, it's a completely different society, completely different country. You have to do everything abroad. People are very different in a positive way than in my own country were, and you really discover that basically, wow, I can do this, I can do that, I can do stuff which I never imagined I could do. I could go talk to strangers. I can go travel alone abroad. I can go biking alone in the Alps and make biking videos and whatever. So I started doing a lot of things in my PhD time, which I had never ever before, and it was great for that. While it was still, as I said, insanely stressful period, but that was also basically once where I really formulated that I must lean into more into my autistic side and advantages and skills, because as much as I worked in Hungary in a managerial position, which I hated every single minute because it was boring, it was a grind, just the same, I started to hate academia because I was just feeling that I am just shoved into a very strong bureaucratic system, which is bullshit, and you have to know, you're expected to know and follow a lot of rules which nobody tells you and which don't make sense, which is just, yeah, it has always been like that. And people and all the scientists who are supposed to be smart and independent thinking, they are all just following, and I just couldn't do that. So I did finish my PhD, I did graduate, so I'm have a PhD in chemistry, which I'm very proud of to have accomplished because that was my dream. But at the same time, by the end of it, I really hated every single moment of it, and I really formulated that I must have my own business and become fully independent because I don't want to work for anybody else. I'm not motivated where I work for anybody else. I can do insane amount and insane quality work, but I also want the awards for that. I want to reap the awards, and in any fixed position, either academia or a 9 to 5 job, you are you're shoved into a small box basically, and that's it. And I just knew, based on the experience in my academic career and in some work in Hungary, that I just cannot do it for a long time, for a long run. So now I'm still working in industry in an R&D position, which again was my dream. This is something I have, even a few years ago, I would only dream of, and especially back then 10 years ago, I could only have dreamt of. It's a very cushy, very comfortable life. I'm not even working that much. It's decent, but it's boring, and you're not motivated to put your best. And especially as an autistic person, you have areas where you could deliver 170%, and you can still only deliver maximum 100 because nobody cares about the rest. They just want to do you to do X, and that's what they want, and they don't want anything else. Actually, if you do anything else, it might even be dangerous for you, because then you put other people into bad light and whatever. But at the same time, in other areas where you can only deliver 20%, they also expect 100%. So that's a difficult part, that basically the expectations are average in all areas. But for autistics, and including me, I have areas where I could deliver twice as much, and there are areas where I could barely deliver half of it, what's expected. And it's very difficult to negotiate that. So you are both unmotivated and both hyper anxious, because you either want to deliver more in few areas, or you actually cannot deliver the expected amount or quality in a few areas. So that's where I also basically it also confirmed that I just cannot do it in the long run. It's depressing, and I want to be independent, be my own boss, have my own business. Because by this time, and this is where I'm very grateful for my PhD and my career, I have figured out that my biggest skill is probably an advantage, besides being insanely creative, is to be able to think of, imagine things visually, but also think of and build up structures and systems, and now companies. I am currently building 2 startups, which none of them have been launched, but at least one of them should be launched this year. So yeah, is it a success? I would say it's a success by now, because I have achieved everything professionally I wanted. But at the same time, it's not, because I have achieved everything I wanted until now by shoving myself into a box in a small structure, which has suffocated myself and destroys my mental health and quality of life. And I consider this only the starting point. I do consider that this is now where, at 34, after a PhD and after a few years of work experience, is where my life actually really starts. And yeah, I would say the takeaway from today is this: that once you reach your goals, any goal which you have formulated, it's a great feeling, but at the same time, it's depressing, because then you are thinking, okay, like, what's next? That's it? It's over? That was it? And it's difficult. It's difficult to figure out, and overcome this feeling and figure out the next goal. And at the same time is your goals which you have achieved at some point in your life, that might not be your future goals. So you might have wanted some position or something, some situation in your life for a very long time. You achieve it and you realize you don't want it anymore, because in the process of achieving it, you have changed so much that you don't want it anymore. So I would say this is the takeaway from today. And I definitely want to talk later on more about 9 to 5 jobs and how it's not really ideal for autistics, and definitely not for a successful autistic life. So I hope you have enjoyed this one, and I can see you in the next one. Bye bye.